Hi everyone, this is Tina at Dirt Therapy, and today I have just various projects to get done. I have some strawberry plants to plant. I have some transplanting of hostas into a shady spot, and I have just some other things that I need to get planted in our shade garden. And I also wanted to show you, after I stopped filming last night, it started getting dark, but I wanted to get the rest of the fountain area decorated, rearranged. I planted a couple lavender in our urn pots, and I wanted to show you what that looks like. Well, I got the area rearranged, and I really like this format. It kind of opens it up over here so I can get to some of the area here where I want to continue the garden bed here. So you can see I have these stones here, and I have a lot of shadier plants, things that can handle some sun, some shade, because this is about the only sun they're going to get is the eastern exposure. And then once it goes behind the house and our tree, because our tree will, this is our locust tree, so it will create a ton of shade in the summertime. So this area needs to have things that are more shade tolerant. So, but I had started this border, and we had the bench over here with the two urns on either side, and it just felt like it was being closed off, the back of this area, and it just made it to where I couldn't even get to it. So I want to be able to come in here and plant a couple new things, extend the bed, because we do already have some things over here. We have some daffodils, some salvia, a caryopteris or bluebeard. We have that over here. And then we have a blue muffin over here, and then another hosta. And that hosta is doing really well, even though it gets a little bit more sun than the others. But I wanted to transplant some hostas over into this section here where it could use some fillers. I also got some tiarellas, and I've never had tiarellas in my garden before, but I ended up getting some, and I think they're going to be so cute in there. So they are made, if you see, they have the eco pots, so you can break these down. We get a lot of rain, so it should be fine to put these in the ground. And pot and all, you can put the pot in there. It's biodegradable, and it is you can also put it in your compost bin as well, and it'll break down and give a little added nutrients. So I'm going to put those over there as well. This section here has been here since even before we had the house. It is a flower bed, and I for years just grew the hostas here. It worked out perfect. Even though this is a southern exposure, the locust tree shades it really nicely, so they really thrive here with no problems at all. But we are going to be taking this out, because if you see, and it's a mess, I'm sorry, it's construction, but this patio is just not wide enough. It's not wide enough to do really much of anything, and I'm at a loss of how to decorate it or use it as a space that we could just sit out here if we wanted to, take a break, or just enjoy this spot. So unfortunately, by trying to set up a little bistro table and chairs, there's still just not enough room, and I have been wanting to have this expanded for quite some time. So but because we do live on a hill, we do have retaining walls and different layers. And I don't know if you can tell, but our driveway steps down at this section. So we're going to keep the first wall. So this wall that you see here, we're going to keep that wall because it's intact. And then we're going to move the lions into a different location and remove all of this rock and dirt, including the hostas, and we're going to put concrete to the edge all the way up to the wall. So that will give us another 12, 14 inches in this space, and that is really going to help us be able to use this space in a better way, and maybe have that table and chairs out here with a lot more room. So I am working on removing these hostas because this is a project we're going to be working on this summer, and I don't want to do it when it's in the heat of summer. I want to do it now while it's cooler. It's staying in the mid 60s to early 70s. This is a perfect time to get these moved to where they won't have too much shock to their system. So I've already taken out one piece and I've planted it over on the east garden side, but I want to dig these out. So I'm going to be digging those out today. That didn't take me too long. It only took me about 10 minutes to dig up all those. I figured that it would be a little bit more of a challenge, seeing as the rocks were in there, and they're very large rocks. I only had to move a few rocks around each of the hostas to bring them out. They are very shallow rooted, so they weren't too heavily rooted in, but they have done really well there for the last several years. So they have been just a wonderful addition. I didn't want to have anything that was too tall in this area, but something that could really kind of like soften up the edges of this flower bed. So that is the reason why I just have left them there for years. But they definitely need some splitting. As you could see, I was able to take some of those pieces that I was digging out and make them into two different plants. But I also wanted to keep some on the fuller side because I think I'm going to plant them in the pots that I have them sitting in right here. So I have one sitting in that pot over here, just one of my old terracotta pots, and then I have this more shallow like farmhouse looking pot. I might change that pot out. I think I want something a little bit more on the concrete side, so that might change. I don't know yet. I think it would be really cute in this little farmhouse basin bowl. So that it might start out there, but then it might change later in the season. I don't know yet, but I think that they're gonna go really good here. I'm just gonna grab some compost, fill up the reservoirs of the farmhouse pot. And I don't think that I need to really fill anything in this one. It's fairly full. And with the size of the hosta, I think it's gonna be fine to just not even have to add any soil into that one. But I do want to add the amendments. So I am going to add my Biotone starter fertilizer and just give them a little bit of a boost. As you can see, when I was digging them up, I just had them kind of naturally coming apart. And I have several that I could even split down even further. But I think I'm gonna try to keep them together as much as possible. But I've got about 3 or 4 plants in here that'll be ready to go over on the east side. I think this is going to be the perfect location for the hostas. Now this one's flopped over a little bit just because the root system is rounded, so it can't sit perfectly. But I'm thinking about adding them here kind of in a triangle, and then adding some of the tiarellas there. But I also am starting to think a little bit different. I'm rethinking, and I think I'm going to put one of the hostas, move this chair out and put one of the hostas there, maybe a smaller piece of it. I have one of the hostas over there, which I think are going to be really pretty, but I think that I could probably split one down and make 2 smaller pieces, one to go in that location and one to come over here, because these are all really big established hostas. So I don't know. I think I'm going to play around and we'll see what I come up with. See, this one, I think I could probably divide it. It has a good separation mark here, and if I was just to pull it a little bit, it would separate. So I think I'm going to divide this one, and one will go over on this other side of the Japanese maple, and this one is going to go in this hole. I don't know. We're going to see if I like it with it all together or not. Yeah, I like it all nice and full. I think that is just perfect the way it is. And now I'm going to move on to the other side and get those ones done. First, I have to fit some of these tree seedlings. I have been battling these for the last year. They are one of the trees just seeded all of these different seeds in here, and I have been going every day, pulling more and more and more. So I've got to get those before they get to be too much of a hassle. This area is not mowed or tilled or anything, so these have to go. So I'm going to do a little weeding before I start digging those holes. I think they look so beautiful here in this area. So I planted the smaller one kind of closer to the grasses and the salvia over there, and it will fill in. And then I have another one of the hostas flanking each side of the blood good Japanese maple. I think that's going to just be a gorgeous setting. And then I also got these tiarellas that I am going to plant in front of the hostas. I ended up only getting 3 of the tiarellas, and these are, I've never seen them sold in our area, which is really neat, that I've discovered something new. I've heard about them, but I had never had one of my own. And so these are called the Cutting Edge, and it's a tiarella, and it likes part sun and I don't even know how big they get. I'm guessing they're going to be more like a heucherella or heuchera, where they stay pretty small. 16 inches, 8 to 10 inches tall and 16 inches wide. So yeah, probably the same as my heucheras do. But I love this pattern in the leaves. It's like has this purple veining and just the green leaves with the little white flowers. I just think they're going to be perfect in this area. The reason why this bed is also doesn't look like it has all that many leaves is that I used the no-dig method a couple years ago when we had the retaining wall built, our portion of it in 2021, and then our neighbors tied into our retaining wall. So technically this part of the retaining wall belongs to our neighbors, but the part behind the fence is ours. Well, when they came in and built it in 2022, we saw it as an opportunity to be able to really develop this section. But we weren't quite ready to develop the whole thing yet because we wanted to make sure that they weren't going to get in the way of any type of repairs or anything that needed to be done. So I hadn't planted this area up. I just put down cardboard and mulch to kind of give it a way to suppress those weeds and kill off any grass and weeds in this area. So it has really been able to maintain itself the last couple of years without having to worry about that. And from time to time, I won't be able to edit out every single noise that is in the background. We don't live super far from our main airport. So there is a lot of airplanes that will fly over our area. We also have a train that is about a mile away. When you can hear the sirens, those horns are blaring all the time and they hit every intersection. So there are going to be times that I can't edit out every single noise that is around us, but I will do my best to kind of hide that noise. But bear with me. Sometimes, living in the suburbs and, you're going to have to deal with some kind of noise. Now I'm doing the pots, the eco pots, as an experiment. I haven't had one of the eco pots yet. I have heard of them, but none of our garden centers carried the eco pots. So I got my hands on a few of those. I'm going to try them out. We get enough rain to be able to break these down because we're in eastern Nebraska and we do get our share of rain. It seems like it's been raining a lot more this year. And we do have drought conditions sometimes as well. But this year we're having a really good rain and our rivers are up and lakes and reservoirs are up. So I am going to go ahead and chance it this year and we'll see how they did over the next season. So next spring we'll check on them and see how they did. Okay, so I planted them up past where the container lid was, just so it's still at the crown of the plant, as you can see here, but there's a little bit of dirt over the rim, just so it can decompose all it needs to with the soil and the nutrients it has there. But there we go. I think that just looks really great. Look at the end result. I'm so happy with this. And it's gonna look just so beautiful. And I think eventually we are going to get some more rocks. I really like the rocks here. And I think we're just gonna kind of follow them down and leave enough room to be able to walk between the urn and these posts and be able to kind of walk down. Once we get to the Caryopteris, it'll be a little harder to walk through, but and when that blue muffin gets a lot bigger, we're not going to be able to do that. But at least for now, I think finishing off with those rocks would be a beautiful addition. I also wanted to show you, I didn't get to do this last night because it was dark, and I had mentioned it earlier in the video that I was going to show you that I planted up some English lavender inside these pots. I think that the symmetry of the pots just looks so beautiful, and I'll kind of pan back here so you can see it. Just gives it a little bit more formality. And I am going to also install a light to shine up on the fountain, so at night it is illuminated and just looks beautiful. So this area is really coming along. I am so pleased with how everything is looking in my little shade Zen garden. So thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.